Madison Robinson, and this is Marc Jackson, the owner of a bar downtown called Kazoola. This bar is full of African American history, and Marc is going to tell us more about it. So, here in Kazoola, Marc has a lot of posters, pictures, and copies of documents from Africatown community. So, Marc, can you tell us how these documents have made their way to you?
Yeah, sure. A lot of them came from the University of South Alabama archives. I wanted to tell a story of Africatown, and I was able to use the photographs to tell that story about Africatown and mainly Cudjo Lewis, Kazoola.
Oh, that's cool. What do these photos mean to you?
Well, it talks more about the history of Africatown and the community. It talks about the rich history, the obstacles, some of that the community had to go through, and it just tells the story about what was some major contributors to the change of the community.
Can you tell me why you chose the name Kazoola for your business establishment?
Yeah, because Mobile is 316 years old. There is no other black-owned and operated business on Dolphin Street, and I wanted to do something that was bold to celebrate our culture and our history.
That's really cool. Roughly about how many slaves were on the Clotilda, and when did it come to Mobile Bay?
Yeah, so in 1960, but it's documented that it was 110 slaves that was on the ship. The story behind it, the slave owners, the boat would only hold 100. They were anticipated that 20% would die through the transatlantic slave trade, and all 110 survived.
Wow, that is really crazy. Do you have any relatives that were signed to the purchase? Also, are they buried in Africatown Cemetery?
No, I don't have any relatives. I'm not a descendant of the slaves from the Clotilda. However, I'm 3 generations of Africatown. My grandmother, my father, and so did I. Grew up in Africatown and have a host of friends, relatives that are buried in the cemetery.
Cudjo Lewis's resting place is here in Africatown Cemetery. Can you tell me about him?
Yeah, well, so he's the last documented slave in America. What's significant about him, there's no other slave that's depicted in a motion picture. And growing up in that community, Africatown, it made it special to me, and to celebrate his history and to make sure that the story continues to go on.
Thank you. Thank you for watching this oral history. I'm Madison, and this is Marc. This was about the history of Africatown.